Hi, everyone. Carl Steinbeck here. I want to talk about some recent developments here for the Donna Adelson case down in Tallahassee, Florida, where she's charged with first-degree murder, along with a couple other serious charges involving the execution murder of Dan Markell in his garage there in Tallahassee back in 2014. The uh, the selection of counsel for Donna, she originally had a Miami attorney named Marissel Descalzo, who was 7.5 hours away. So I didn't think she was really up to the challenge of having a client that many hours away from her that's in pretrial confinement there in the Leon County Jail there in Tallahassee. And so I was estimating that it was probably going to be Rashbaum because he was the one who actually had visited her in jail before they had that emergency motion hearing some weeks ago. So I think because she's reverting back to Rashbaum, it made the most sense from what I thought she was wanting out of a lawyer. After all, he's been with her for almost 9 years now as her lawyer, talking to her anytime she had a question or concern about anything going on in the investigation and prosecution of other folks involved in the murder of Dan Markell. So having that long track record in history with her, and then also being the attorney for her son Charlie, that he took he had that case for like a year and a half at least, and then took that to full jury trial and lost tremendously, as we know. But nevertheless, the Adelsons still sing high praises for Daniel Rashbaum. So I just figured it made the most sense that she was going to revert back to him if he was willing to take it. And because it was because they that the selection crew out of New York City that came down and were going in and out of the courtroom and the jury selection room there with I think 3 or 4 attorneys. It really looked like a lot of confusion going on there, and um, you want to have continuity of counsel there to build credibility of the jury. So that didn't work, as we saw in trying to have them pick at least one juror that would vote um, not guilty and hold out. That was the best hope that they had for Charlie, it seems like. But on the flip side of it, the from what from what we hear from Charlie anyway, Rashbaum was telling me he did awesome. The trial was he was ecstatic with the outcome of the trial, everything and up to including until closing arguments, and then supposedly then I guess they're trying to blame it on the Tallahassee jury only being out a couple hours and blaming it on them like they didn't even listen to the evidence, and then blaming it on the phenomenal graphics display and argument that Georgia Kappelman had in her closing argument. Then all of a sudden, like the wheels came off the bus at that point, and they crashed and burned. So it doesn't really work that way where Georgia was able to save the day. I think that they also were thinking Charlie won over on his testimony, and that Georgia couldn't touch him on when she did her cross examination. But I thought she did fine, and I thought that the main points were basically Charlie's a maestro and he's going to take charge of the courtroom. And he tried to do that with Georgia. So in the end, her closing argument just summed up everything else that had been brought into trial through different witnesses, and it was presented beautifully. And that's why they lost. It wasn't because of the Tallahassee jurors being a bunch of um, like the derogatory terms that Charlie referred to a bunch of them. But no, they actually did listen intently to the arguments. I couldn't even believe when I was there in the closing there with John, my brother. We were there watching the closing arguments. I could not believe that the jurors could sit there and pay attention to Rashbaum as long as they did. I mean, he went on for I think 2 hours and 40 minutes, something really ridiculously long like that, and they were doing their absolute best to pay attention to what he was saying. And some of them were really, getting really having a hard time listening to him. You could tell the way they're fidgeting around and trying to give him some body language signals that basically, okay, we've heard enough, kind of thing. Because after all, his whole theory of what happened to Charlie was just so outrageous, preposterous, and ludicrous, and never had a chance at all of flying. And so I think now what we're looking at with Donna having the same defense lawyer, the lead counsel for Charlie, now being her lead counsel. And the reason I say he's lead counsel is because I looked at the substitution of counsel motion that was filed in court yesterday, and it removes Marissel Descalzo as the one and only counsel at the time, counsel of record for Donna. And now the new counsel is Daniel Rashbaum, but there's also a local attorney there, Robert Alex Morris, who's going to be there to assist and really be the local one to go see Donna in the jail and help make sure she doesn't feel that huge separation of distance between her and Daniel Rashbaum is not going to make her, I guess, lose her marbles, her composure as much. Having a face-to-face interaction with the attorney. After all, she is 73, so I think it is really hard to maintain that kind of good relationship with your client when you can't even see them and they're facing life without parole. So I think that's a good thing for a defendant to have local counsel. It's just really unheard of to have what Charlie had, a counsel 7.5 hours away without having local counsel there. But in the end, it didn't matter, right? So the evidence was what it was, and it was overwhelmingly strong against him. And it was something that I had said many months ago that he had no chance, zero chance of getting an acquittal. So I maintain that as well for Donna. Donna has really zero chance of getting acquittal here. I think that there's any chance that if somebody's maybe sympathetic because of her age, that's the only sympathy factor she has, but she has nothing else going for her. And the counterweight to her age is the fact that the denial of visitation for the grandkids and the mean, vicious hatred and cruelty of words she used, and even trying to poison the minds of the 3 and 4-year-old boys, saying that their dad's stupid and their dad's trying to keep the sunshines away, and things of that nature that are just really just beyond belief that a grandma could be that cruel and vicious and try to brainwash and cause parental alienation aspects, and plant those kinds of seeds of doubts in the boys' minds, and then to up it from parental alienation all the way to parental extermination. The degree of hatred is that strong. So I think a jury is really going to see through that. They could present the exact same evidence that they did in Charlie's case, and they're going to have the exact same outcome. It's going to be a quick, speedy vote of guilty. And so I think with Rashbaum, having him as a lawyer, it's really just something you don't really see ever, in the sense that you have the same attorney go from one family to another, and that they are representing somebody on a murder one charge on both situations, and then they wind up losing on the first family member that's gone to trial, and then for the family to still have trust, faith, and confidence and trust in that attorney is very unique and unusual. But then again, this case has taken how many years on end, where it looked like the prosecution wasn't going to get their feet moving and get these charges ramped up and go after the Adelsons, as should have been the case many years ago. But the politics apparently have dissipated enough where they decided a couple years ago to go ahead and go after Charlie and get him arrested as well, right before Katie's second trial kicked off. And at least they are going after the other Adelsons now. We have one down, one in the firing chamber here with Donna, and then we have two more in the magazine ready to be fired as well. So they still got to go after Wendy, as well as Harvey. Harvey was complicit as well. He has numerous actions that show he was part of this family as well. His weird behavior from anything the visitation up there in Tallahassee, where the inside the home there of on Aqua Ridge, where Donna had a gathering of people, and the way Harvey couldn't look people in the eye was acting very suspicious. You could also look at the way what I would estimate Robert Adelson, their honorable son, the oldest son, that's a highly successful doctor and a loving father and husband up in, I think, in the New York area. For his conversations with him, I think also would be very revealing and help set the scene of how this really was a Florida family affair, a hit job to be done with the Markells once and for good. And whether it was destroying the last name of the boys, as well as the middle name, it had a Markel connection. It was that kind of like vicious cruelty that will really resonate with the jury, and they will have no qualms with finding Donna guilty in speedy fashion, just like they did for Charlie. So if you guys do have questions for me, I still have a few minutes here to talk. But if you guys do have questions, if you've already put them on here, please restate them after I'm done with my initial entry comments, because it'll be easier for me to find them. So put triple Q, preferably in red, before and after your question. That would help me identify them quicker. And I'm thankful for the two mods I have on here tonight. And so please keep everything professional and above board, and we'll have a good discussion. So, in any event, I do think that this local attorney, Morris, I don't know that much about him. I've never met him or anything like that, but it seems like he has a good track record. He's done a lot of cases and whatnot, and that's good. You want somebody that knows their craft and trade to represent somebody facing a murder trial. You don't want to have somebody incompetent or doesn't know what they're doing. And me as a prosecutor, I invite the best, most competent defense they can throw at me. And because I know as a prosecutor, I'm doing the right thing. The person's guilty, and they're going to go down. So it doesn't matter how good of a defense team they throw at me. The bottom line is the evidence is the evidence. They can try to twist and contort and come up with weird arguments and nonsensical arguments, but the bottom line is, if I got the truth and justice on my side, then I'm going to be able to prevail. And that's pretty much the way it works in the real world. So you got to have your ducks in a row. You got to do your homework, and you got to know how to relate to a jury, know how to package the evidence the right way to make it digestible, understandable, and logical. And like I say, if it's grounded in the truth, then that's always like the great thing about what you're doing, is that you are bringing truth to justice, truth to bear for the jury, because they're the ones that ultimately decide what is truth and what is falsehood. So I think that this attorney will be probably called on, like I say, mostly to do day-to-day type visitation with Donna. Probably meet with her an hour and a half or 2 or 3 hours most days of the week, probably not on weekends. And he may take a few witnesses here and there in the trial, the ones that aren't as serious of a witness, not a real issue of the main star witnesses for the prosecution. He probably won't do, but I suspect he'll do some of the other ones, like perhaps like the police officer that spotted Wendy's van, or a van that looked like Wendy's on Trescott shortly after the murder there. So somebody like that, I think the guy will take. If they do split up arguments and voir dire, I think that's for me, what I advise attorneys is, you want to have the same attorney. If you're from a defense standpoint anyway, you always want to have the same attorney doing voir dire, doing the opening, doing the closing. You want that continuity of credibility. And so having to change horses all the time, switching attorneys around, the more you have, I think the less you're able to gain traction and credibility with the jury. With the prosecution, it's not such a big deal. I think the prosecution generally has an upper leg on credibility, is built in that way. I think as jurors, they want to tend to believe that who the government has hired is the most honorable and respectful, and they're going to keep an open mind. But I've always thought of it that way. It's like, you know what, I got to be even. You got to be even better as a defense counsel to have that continuity and credibility. So so I think if they do switch it up like that, I think that's something that may happen, but don't know for sure, obviously. But I think if they do switch it around like that, it helps divide up the workload. But for me, my personal opinion, I think it's better to have one lead counsel. And since Rashbaum is the lead, I'd be surprised if he relinquished that and allowed his co-counsel to cover for dire an opening or closing session. So, but it remains to be seen. And the other thing I want to mention is that I did see that there's an appellate attorney that's filed notice of appeal for Charlie's case. So that's a local guy there, and he's highly regarded and respected. And that's fine as well. Let them throw the best attorneys that money can buy, and try to poke holes at the government's case. But as Daniel Rashbaum apparently had told Charlie, that the judge tried a good case. He didn't make any radical decisions that he thought would be reversible error, kind of thing. So that sounds like a fair assessment. And so that's going to work its way through the system over a couple years, and it could go to multiple levels as well, all the way up to Supreme Court. So I think that is something that is uh, highly specialized to do appellate work. I don't do any kind of appellate work. I've done it, I think, just one time, or no, I take that back. Two times, I think I've worked on appellate issues, and it's something I prefer not to do. I prefer to win cases at the trial level, and then you don't have to worry about something on appeal. So, in any event, you need appellate lawyers for when somebody does lose, like Charlie's situation. So I think this attorney is going to do what he's supposed to do, and that's fine. I mean, we do want to have good counsel representing all folks, not just certain ones, obviously, but there are degrees of and variations of competence and capabilities. And generally, I will say, yeah, the more money you got, the generally the better counsel you're afforded. But that doesn't mean you're necessarily going to win your case. As we saw at the trial level, didn't help Charlie at all, one iota, because he had such a insane defense story. And and so that leads me into the other comment, which is that by having Daniel Rashbaum having that continuity of him having argued the case for Charlie unsuccessfully, and now he's going to be doing Donna's case, if he's arguing that same thing as well, I mean, it just gives a prosecutor that much better preparation to expect, what he's going to try to do for his method of cross examination of witnesses. He may try to do some things different, some things the same, but ultimately, I think he's somewhat locked into what his theory was of this double extortion, and so I think that's a welcome thing. If I was a prosecutor and I saw that this extortion of the hitmen through Katie. It's just so preposterous and ludicrous. So I think it's gonna be a good outcome again for the state. There's no doubts in my mind about that. So also in terms of this local counsel, he's not up to speed like Daniel Rashbaum is, and I do think that Donna is not going to want to sit in jail for a year and a half like Charlie did. I think she would lose her mind. Her health will go down. It looks like she was somebody that was the kind of person to eat really high quality foods, going into the finest dining establishments and whatnot, and eating a lot of the most expensive food money can buy. And now you're having to go to Leon County Jail where the food is nasty there, and so the she's not going to be getting the nutrition that she normally is accustomed to. And so with that, and then being around in the jail cell there, hours and days on end, waiting for a trial, is something that beats you down, wears you down mentally. I did see, based on fancy fiction, that there was a. She indicated that she is now released in the general population, where the other ladies are as well, awaiting pretrial confinement. So that is something that there's probably not anybody Donna's age is my guess on that. So Donna's going to be the oldest one in her cell block area, and having more interaction with other people probably will help her mentally. But like I say, when you're dealing with all the bad living conditions in the jail, you have a loss of so much freedom and whatnot that she'd be used to being accustomed to. So I think it is really a hardship, and it will grind on her. But I think that she's having local counsel and having Rashbaum's probably going to settle her in right now to try to gut it out. So I do think that they're going to try to move for a quicker trial here before the summer starts. So probably the end of May, they may be asking for a speedy trial. I'm surprised that the judge extended this out to the 30th. We may have some dealings going on, but with the defense counsel prosecutor asking for at least a commitment on the calendar of when they can have the trial before the 30th, because otherwise, I think the concern would be that is the trial schedule going to get filled up in the next 2 weeks or so, where it's not going to be as good of a situation to get Donna to trial sooner rather than later. So they may work something out behind the scenes, or defense may go ahead and ask to have this moved up sooner than the 30th. And so that those are possible outcomes there. So in any event, I do think that the state will be ready for this. They obviously know the pecking order of witnesses they've called before. They don't need to call any other witnesses. I think they'll probably call a few witnesses, maybe to establish the some of the conversations in jail that Donna had. with Charlie. Actually, when Charlie was in jail, and they thought the line was disconnected, and things that um, Donna was saying, and also saying that she expects them to come after other Adelsons as well. The prosecution. Why would you say something like that? And then obviously the flight to escape jurisdiction and arrest, and the fact they apprehended her as she's about to board the plane there out of Miami for United Arab Emirates. So I think that I think also the other issue is like I think that the digital evidence they're really gleaning over, pulling out a lot of good information as well. So I think that's going to help speed up the eventual arrest of not only Wendy but also Harvey as well. So that's where I'm looking at it from my foxhole here. And so if you do have questions, I'm going to go start looking at now. I'm going to go to the most recent comments. So if you did have comments previous to right now, I'm looking at 823. And so, okay, hold on a second here. Okay, Carol Tell is asking, what can Donna possibly say to get out of all this? Well, I do think she's going to get on the stand, and I think she's going to say some of the same kind of stuff about she just found out about, from Charlie on a delayed reaction. I think it was how many years later that she found out that there was this extortion attempt and whatnot that Charlie never told anybody else. So I do think that that's going to be what they're going to have, what they're going to come up with the story on. She's going to say she didn't know anything about it, and this is really I don't see how with Rashbaum as the attorney they can point the finger at Charlie. I think that'd be really odd. And so I think that they're going to try to make it look like all the Adelsons were a victim of this. So that's my guess. And obviously, it's not going to work. All right, Stuart Donaldson is asking Rashbaum lodged two change of venue motions given increased publicity this time around. Will he ask for change to say Hiawassee Springs or Miami? Or I do think that of course, he's going to ask for it. That's a routine request that attorneys in all states always ask for that anytime there's any kind of publicity of a case like this. But the publicity is not overly saturated there in the Tallahassee community. There's plenty of people that haven't heard enough about it or haven't formed opinions and whatnot. So, yeah, he can ask for it again, but I think he can try the other Adelsons as well. There's not going to be enough media exposure and coverage for this to have to move the case at all. Gabrielle is asking, can the judge deny that Donna can use Rashbaum as her attorney? Well, you really have a constitutional right to counsel, and part of that right is counsel of your choice. So unless there's a reason the judge could strike the attorney, for example, if there's a conflict of interest that is not addressed properly, then is such a thing also as a constitutional right to conflict-free counsel. And unless you knowingly and intelligently have a waiver for that, or if the conflict is really non-fixable, then I think that could be an issue where the judge does step in at trial level. But those are not likely to be done here if there's a um, waiver of that conflict. If I was a prosecutor on a situation like this, I'd be asking the court to inquire as to whether there's proper documentation by both Charlie and Donna as to a waiver of a conflict of interest. And so defense may try to object to that, but at least make it an issue where the defense counsel are put on notice. I think, hey, if you have forgotten to put it in any kind of conflicts waiver in writing, you need to make sure you do that, because you could be found to be ineffective, and the whole case could get busted on appeal if there's a denial of conflict-free counsel that's not knowingly, intelligently waived. So I do think that that's something that may come up in future hearings. It may happen on the actual hearing I hear on the 30th. Riley is saying that comment on defense lawyers saying circumstantial evidence is synonymous with reasonable doubt. Yeah, I don't know who's saying that, but I would say that any lawyer that's defense lawyer is saying circumstantial evidence is reasonable doubt is really it's just putting a spin on things. It's not based on truth and reality how jurors actually work. So they either don't know their skill and trade as a trial attorney, or else they really um, I think are putting a spin on things because there's some other agenda going on there. But um, if you look at all the different murder cases that have been solved in America over many years, and you don't have any direct evidence, you may not even have any direct proof that somebody's been murdered because a body's not been found, and yet we still have convictions of that. So um, evidence, to me, evidence is evidence, whether you call it circumstantial or not. It's really just common sense. It's linkage of evidence to the accused, and juries pick up on that. They understand the how to interpret that, and they pick up many things that the attorneys don't pick up on. And so you need to present the intricate level of details to show the guilt of the party if you're a prosecutor, and that's how you really win a case. And so, I mean, if you look at it from Charlie's perspective on his trial, that was such a slam dunk win. And yet, look, did they really need to have Katie testify? Katie's the only one that directly linked Charlie with this. There was no other direct admission by Charlie or Donna or anybody of the Adelsons that said they had done this. And so you heard some other evidence from secondhand, third hand, that kind of stuff from Luis Rivera, but he never met any of the Adelsons. Supposedly, he saw Wendy walking down the street, according to what Sigfredo had pointed out, but he'd never met them and talked to them and whatnot. So, in any event, I would just say that yeah, circumstantial evidence can be even stronger than direct, and so it just sort of like I say, don't take their word for it. They don't they're not giving you a straight and level answer on that. Um, I don't want to butcher your name, but Ms. Wellness is asking, can't Dana Rashbaum be involved as a witness? Read Donna's flight attempt. Well, I think that his conversations with her do pose some kind of a challenge, I think, because he basically sort of gave her like a quasi green light, from what I understand. And so by doing so, that could be something where it actually worked out to the state's benefit. And so if we believe what Donna is saying on those tapes, imagine if he would have told her, no, you cannot leave. That can be used against you. This will be basically a guarantee of your conviction, because Charlie never fled, and the evidence is overwhelming against both of them. And yet she fled within days of Charlie getting convicted. So, how does that make her look even more guilty? And getting the one-way ticket, and basically fleeing the country with Harvey. And so um I no, they're not going to call the defense attorney as a witness. So that's really because their attorney-client privilege is there. So and it is weighed because they're on that phone call and it didn't hang up. But the prosecution may not even bring that up, the fact that the attorney had done that. And so that remains to be seen. But yeah, that was really bizarre. How much this this advice by supposed advice by Rashbaum would have played into her getting her arrest happening that much sooner. And if you look at what we heard from the jail calls with Charlie, Charlie many times says he should have gone with his gut. He should have gone with his gut, not listen to the experts. Who's he talking about as experts, and what is he talking about? To me, I think what he's talking about is he should have fled the country. I think that's what I've seen on YouTube here. Most all people agree with that being the interpretation of that. So if he was told, "Don't worry about it. We got it all wrapped up. We'll get a fair jury up in Tallahassee," and then lo and behold, it doesn't turn out that way. It makes the most sense that that's what he was. That's what he's talking about. Um, so Donna supposedly has said, "Yeah, you may not be able to leave the country, but you'll only know if you really try, kind of thing. And then if in fact Charlie was talked out of fleeing the country because he was going to be able to beat the rap there in Tallahassee. So, I'm just thankful that both these things worked out for the better. Charlie was able to be arrested and prosecuted much sooner, and now Donna is as well. So it's been way too many years delay. So if they would have had the opportunity to flee the country, imagine how many more years of delay and agony to see justice for the Markells here. So I thought it all worked out good. So Breezy Coyote is saying odds on a plea deal. New rep is going to review evidence and tell her frankly, you will lose. Well, I think that because the new attorney is not lead counsel, and because he's just new to knowing Donna and trying to get to know her, and the fact that he's from Tallahassee, which has no redeeming qualities in the Adelson's eyes. Anybody from Tallahassee is, you know, Neanderthal knuckle dragger type of person, and so why would they trust them and believe them? So I think that that took some convincing of hers. Like, look, we got to get local counsel, and maybe they're going to do that instead of the jury trial consultants, and have somebody that has sort of a Tallahassee type accent to try to act like these are people that could fit in with the locals and have a connection with the jury there. But okay, Michelle Anna saying, Carl, if you were the prosecutor, what would you offer Don as a plea deal? Would the big fish be Wendy? Well, I think that that's the dilemma you have with Rashbaum on the case because if you can have Donna flip and tell the whole truth of what happened, then she basically would have to rat out Charlie as well, and Rashbaum is his attorney as well. And so, with that being the case, you have a direct conflict of interest there. So, I think that in the states that I'm licensed in anyway, you'd have a definite conflict, and you couldn't even talk about that in a conversation with Donna. You'd have to right away remove yourself. So, I think the prosecutors are well aware of that, and I would say the prosecutor's probably not going to offer him any kind of deal because Rashbaum can't even go talk to Donna about it. And I think even if you got the second attorney, if they try to float the offer to Morris, um, I think that conflict's still going to pervade the entire defense team. I don't think you can firewall it like that. So I just think there's all kinds of problematic issues, and so I think that, and if Donna did want to decide to say, you know what, forget this, Wendy won't even talk to me. She doesn't even care about consoling Charlie after his huge loss and his life sentence off parole. So if she gets really hot under the collar and decides to, you know what, I'm gonna burn the house down with Wendy in it, kind of thing, then I think that yeah, she need to get new counsel at that point. So I just don't see them um, having that kind of deal working out at all. I think she's going to fight it and go to trial, and she's thinking she's going to beat it, unlike Charlie. Susan Vaughn is asking if I think Donna will take the stand. Absolutely, I think she will take the stand just like Charlie. They can talk their way out of anything. They can. Money's been able to solve every major problem in their life except for Charlie's case, and they're still fighting that on appeal, obviously. But so I think she's saying still keep it up, still fight it, even though Rashbaum's telling them Charlie doesn't have any chance. So Katrina T is asking, can an acquittal for Donna somehow bring a mistrial for Charlie? Well, there's not going to be an acquittal for Donna. And so if she did have an acquittal, that's not normally something that is going to have a carryover effect to another trial unless there's something like some witness got some kind of evidence of perjury or something like that tainted the proceedings against Charlie. So, I mean, it is possible in just a hypothetical situation, but that's not going to happen. Number one, and even if it did happen, it's I don't see anything there that would be beneficial to Charlie on his appeal. Um, Marta Morales is asking, is Charlie a witness in Donna's trial? I think they could do that if they then use the same statute that they used to get Wendy to testify. They could do that to Charlie, but the fact that he's pending an appeal and whatnot, and he didn't admit to anything of guilt, obviously, other than the fact he did admit that he paid the hitman. Um, but he had a story for that, being like it was uh, he was forced to do so. So in any event, I think that's a possibility, but they probably will not because they got enough as it stands right now. Like I say, they just have to do the same evidence they had before and just add the flight and also some other digital evidence, and they got another slam dunk here in the works. Okay, VVRN is asking, the state has just filed search warrants for the Adelson's MacBook Pros back to 2012. Could a data analysis delay speedy trial? I Potentially, but it depends how quick they do it, and I think that they know they got a speedy trial date. I think they can move it up in the pecking order of analysis. So I don't think that's going to be an issue. And I think a lot of it also may be, they're asking for records going back to 2012. I think most of the evidence won't be there. I mean, who has it? Who of us has any kind of a device that's going back to 2012 that still works and is functional and stuff like that? So I think they just do that to cover all bases. But I think that any kind of search of iPad or what have you, or any kind of phone records, they're only going to maintain them maybe 6 months to a year and a half or two at most. So I don't think you're going to get old records that are really that helpful. But if they did happen to have an old iPad sitting around or something like that and they happen to grab it, then perhaps that could be a gold mine nugget there of information. Sarah Glenn is asking, is Rashbaum stuck with the same theory? Could put another spin on it. I mean, it's such a ludicrous theory. He could put some kind of spin on it. I'm not gonna give him any ideas. But like I say, any idea that they come up with is just going to be basically um, futile and basically a farce. So it's not going to work. Lori Greger's asking, when he talked to her kids about death, was it months, weeks, or days before Dan Markel was killed? I think it was just a couple days before, a day or two before he was killed. She mentioned that was brought up. So yeah, that was. What are the odds of that happening? Hey, Mona's asking if John and I'll go to Donna's trial. I mean, yeah, that's. I don't know if I'll attend the whole trial, but John, I think, would definitely be there for most of it. I think what I'd probably do is try to televise it live and comment on it as it's going along, like I did for Charlie's, and then and probably show up for the closing again, like I did for Charlie's. Okay, Lori Gregory's again saying, on October 31st of 2013 in the morning, Wendy filed notice of appeal to enforce marital settlement against Ann. And the same night, Charlie asked Katie if she knew of anyone that can rough up someone up. Yeah, so I mean that could be another interesting timing aspect as well, where it looked like they were trying to ratchet stuff up and they were trying to fight things against the court. I don't remember the notice of appeal. Um, so it might have been called something else, but yeah, there definitely a lot of motions going forth and back. Uh, f- okay, we have a question here. Do you think Donna and Harvey watched Charlie's trial? Hard to understand why they thought Rashomon did such a great job. Yeah, that's really perplexing. I think that they maybe didn't even watch it, and they were just telling him he did. That's something I definitely was thinking about. That if they're overseas and whatnot, I guess I mean they could have seen it on through YouTube and whatnot, but um, I don't think they sat through and watched the whole trial. Maybe they decided just to watch Harvey's part of it, but and then all the friends telling me he did great and stuff like that. Um, so I'm trying to remember, did I hear Donna say anything really unique about the case where it showed that she actually watched it? I can't think of anything off the top of my head that indicates she actually was watching it, where she brought up some specific thing. She's brought up generalities like, yeah, the jury didn't listen to it, anything you said and that kind of stuff. So, but no specifics if you that I can think of that would make one actually believe that she had actually watched the trial. So yeah, that's a good question. Frank Ford is saying, wouldn't a good defense attorney, when they know 100% their client's guilty, try and cut a deal with the state? Sort of like having a bad poker hand, cut your losses and deal. Why not? Yeah, I mean that's really specific to the attorney and how they do their case. A lot of attorneys, maybe if they make more money going to trial, they're not going to try to. If they know their client's going down, well, going to trial, you make more money. So if they have a money motive, you may not want to have that conversation with your client. And if you do know your client's guilty, I think it's your in the best thing an attorney can do is if you know your client's going to get a life without parole. Yeah, then I'm going to try to, if I know there's no chance they have a winning or a really horrible chance of winning, I think that that's something that it's a smart thing to do to try to do that. But you also got to worry about how you talk to your client as well, because sometimes if you have that conversation with your client, they may want to fire you because they then say they don't, you're not believing in their case and whatnot. So there's a lot of interpersonal dynamics that attorneys have to have when they're meeting with their clients. And if they say that too early, then things could really backfire and go downhill. Here's a question: can they call that lady that was with her when the hot mic happened? Yeah, I mean they definitely could interview her. I'm the kind of person that I enter when I'm on a case. I'm going to interview everybody and everybody, especially when you know that you have evidence of people in the room, they're talking, you get more details and stuff like that. And I would just say, as a general rule, interview all the friends. When you got a murder case like this, as a prosecutor, I would have the investigators interview every single main connection, main friend, family member, whatnot of the Adelsons to see what their story they're saying, and because their story's obviously going to have different versions of it and whatnot, and then have all these different versions coming out before the jury, and it's going to help prove your case that much easier. That these people can't even keep their story straight among their friends. So I think that was. I think that was something that is highly advisable, and just like the conversation they had with Robert, the son up in New York, having Robert talk about how they told him, "Do not talk about how Dan was murdered. We don't talk about that." Just that weird conversation. I think it was something I would want to bring out if I was a prosecutor. Definitely going. You'd want to bring that, especially the against Wendy and Harvey. I'd want to bring those intricate level of details. I think Donna could easily be convicted without it, but I don't like to leave those kind of stones unturned on a case that I'm prosecuting if I had these kind of facts. Tennis girls asking, can the prosecutor use jail calls when Donna was criticizing the jury? I I think that that's something that is going to depend on just ranting about the jury being stupid, all that kind of stuff. That could be more prejudicial than probative to help prove guilt. So I don't see that as something that's going to be brought in by the prosecution. I think they know that the judge would keep it out, and so I don't see that being something that they want to do to try to get the jury sort of ramped up and inflame the passions against the Adelsons. I think there's enough of that with the way they treated Dan and Dan's boys. Um, so here, Michelle's asking, will Wendy still get limited immunity at Donna's trial? If you're subpoenaed, you automatically have that converted on you. So yeah, I think they are going to use Wendy, and then I think after Wendy's trial, they may arrest Charlie next, or they may arrest both Wendy and Harvey next. I do know that one of the local attorneys there, Stephen Webster, thinks that it could be in the coming weeks that Wendy's arrested. So I'd I think that'd be a great move for the prosecution. I don't think it's going to happen that soon. I think they're going to wait to use her as a witness against her mom. But right after that, it's all bets are off. I think they will definitely arrest her at that point. And I think the pressure is mounting so much. There's so much talk now, and it's building over these last couple months, especially over what's going on with Wendy. Why hasn't she been prosecuted yet? So Beth Snow is asking, do I think Donna could have something over on Dan Rashbaum? So I'm not going to speculate on that, but I just think they have a long history together, and I think even like I've heard that his wife is having was having luncheons or whatever with Donna. So I think they've gotten really close over the years, and he's a go-to guy that they trust. So yeah, Debbie Gibby saying even Jeffrey in the previous trial said Wendy was at home in Miami the week before the murder there for 10 days, packing up her childhood room. Why? Because she was moving back after the murder. She knew. So yeah, I mean, I think that's some a little data point there that can help show what was going on. And I think they're also looking to move into South Beach area as well. So that could have been what they'd say as a coincidence. But yeah, I'd be definitely looking at that as well if I wanted to be more thorough as a prosecutor, look at who was moving where and when and what was going on. And that conversation that Jeff said, yeah, I'd want to bring that out. So yeah, a lot of those little details were not brought out, but I mean, look how strong of a case it was without that. But here, Carol, 1953 is asking, will Georgia want to question Rashbaum about Donna fleeing? I don't think they're going to go down that road. I think it is what it is, and I think, like I say, it worked to the state's benefit because they were able to stop her from fleeing, and thanks to the people that alerted the state attorney office, that was awesome. And also, will Dan get in trouble for encouraging Donna to flee? I don't know if he per se encouraged her, but he sort of gave her maybe a caution flag of sorts, from what I remember hearing. And he knew about her plans. I mean, that's not something I would ever recommend an attorney to do. And I know Stephen Webster there. He's a real honorable defense attorney there in Tallahassee, and he said that he thought that was really something that's bad to do as attorney. You're supposed to help uphold justice, and so he thought that that could be something as an ethical problem that Rashomon would have with the state. But how that's going to shake out, I'm not going to speculate on that. Demi's asking, why do I think Wendy's hired a different attorney, not going with family attorney? Well, I think Wendy's kept her same attorney this whole time, John Lauro, who's also representing Trump in his multiple trials. So I think that that's not accurate. I think her attorney's been the same all the way through. And so unless she's charged and he can't obviously represent Trump in four different trials and Wendy all in the same year and a half. So I think that he'd probably cut loose on representing Wendy. RN is asking, can I imagine how psyched the prosecutor must be that Donna wants a speedy trial? Yeah, I didn't hear the word speedy trial. I do think they want to expedite things. So I do think it's, yeah, definitely something that's going to help bring about sooner trials for the other Adelsons. They just got to round them all up and throw down the gauntlet and go after these other Adelsons. I mean, they got all this momentum, and to not seize a moment, it would be really, I think, another extenuation of miscarriage of justice. Cheryl Crawford says, "What will they do if Donna cannot control her mouth and body language?" Yeah, I mean that's we'll see how she reacts at her trial, but I think that that's something that's going to be interesting to see. Is she able to control herself and not have outbursts and stuff like that when a witness is saying something she doesn't like, or she can be elbowing the attorney saying, "Why don't you object? I don't like hearing this testimony," that kind of thing. So, yeah, I can see her having control issues, self control issues that could definitely work to her detriment. And I think just her general demeanor as I've said before, juries really study and analyze the defendant there, and they're trying to size them up and think, did this person really do this or not? Is the state's evidence really presenting who this person really is, or is there really another a side to them that the state's just completely wrong on? So yeah, Jennifer Ray, isn't a conflict that Rashbaum gave a heads up to the grand jury meeting and advised her it was her last opportunity to flee. I mean, it's something that normally an attorney, is not going to do something like that, I would say. And then if a client relies on it and then they wind up getting nabbed, I mean, the client's thinking probably maybe she's not or resentful of Rashbaum telling her that. But yeah, I mean, it just looks really bad. If that was indeed what was said, I mean, we don't know for sure what the truth is, but that's what she's representing to be what Rashbaum told her. So yeah, I just don't think that's going to be brought up at trial at all. That he had any discussions with her about how to flee. Yeah, so that's the other questions on that. Kathy S is asking when will her arrest video, et cetera, be released with arraignment, probable cause release. Yeah, not sure about that. A lot of that stuff they're holding off until later. Some of it, uh, some of it may be releasable, but I've not done a request for that, so other folks may do so. But I think a lot of that they're trying to have it more close hold to try to not have as much of this evidence get out there in front of the public before these upcoming trials. Cynthia is asking, what do I think the odds are there are phone calls recorded between Wendy and Donna that are incriminating? I don't, that's the whole thing. As I've said last time on my live, I don't think Wendy is going to ever talk to her mom again. I mean, pending the outcome of this case and whatnot, and after she's convicted, she's still not going to talk to her mom. I really don't think, unless, other than being in court there to testify against her mom, I think she'll probably never see her mom at all. And so that's really something to behold. To think that Donna tried to exterminate from the lives of the two grandsons and kill their father, and then what do you have? You have no conscience about that, and then what happens to you? Not only do you not see your sunshines ever again, but you'll never get to see or talk to Wendy other than seeing her testify against you in trial. And maybe after Wendy's convicted, maybe maybe there'll be some letters that are written, but they'll never be able to be allowed to talk to each other in a jail. I don't think the Florida prison system will allow that to happen. And so she's also not going to talk to Charlie again. Um, while she's facing trial, and after she's convicted as well, she's probably not going to be allowed to talk to Charlie either. So think all the people she's cut out, and then once Harvey's arrested, then she's never going to talk to him again either. So you talk about creating an implosion of misery on your life in your last years of your life. So wow, what a turn of events. Now, Lisa is Clark is asking, do I think Donna was lying and flapping her mouth when she said Rashbaum told her how to flee on the plane? I don't think it'd be so dumb thoughts. I have no idea. I mean, we're only good based on what she said. So if she wants to point the finger at him or whatever, I don't know. But yeah, just if that happened, then that's not that doesn't look good for lawyers trying to uphold justice, doing that kind of stuff. Beachy is asking if I believe that they have found electronic evidence. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they found some, whether how probative it is and usable to help prove guilt. Don't know for sure, but yeah, I mean, there could be a treasure trove of types of information in there. I think you'll some of it may be in there also talking about how her plans were to flee the country and never come back. And I think also maybe her suicide, her talk on suicide, they may want to introduce that as well to show that she was show consciousness of guilt. Yeah, Mel was asking if Rashbaum's a witness in the case, doesn't that create a conflict of interest that can't be? He's not going to be a witness in the case. Prosecutors just don't do that. I once had a prosecutor try to call me as a witness on a attempted murder case where I was a defense counsel, and the judge said, you know, we're not going to invade the attorney-client relationship here. What are you doing, counsel? So he got smacked down, as it should have been. I mean, that would be the normal thing to do. Here, Rabbit saying, doesn't the same lawyer Rashbaum in the extortion 2.0 defense just emphasize the co-conspirator concept to a jury, how a jury overlook it? I mean, the wiretap evidence is so compelling, and it shows that Donna was up to her eyeballs, just like Charlie, and so it's gonna be yeah, really laughable, and so whatever kind of other spin they come up with or a different new invention that if she tries to say she just found out about it and had no idea. I mean, her talking in code the way she did, there's just no way around that. And Charlie thought he could talk his way out of the code. Remember, he talked about how, oh, that's just a bad choice of words his mom used when she talked about the TV and five, the five meaning $5,000, which happened to be the demand that was in that letter that was given by the undercover bump agent. So it's just really outrageous. And like I say, it's the worst uncredible theory you could possibly come up with on any case. I've never seen anything so pathetic and weak in my whole life. And yet there's a murder one trial. Sheila's asking why was Winnie given immunity for testifying. Well, it's part of a statute they have in Florida that confers immunity, and it's has to do with um, use and derivative use immunity. So that really has to do with whether anything you say can't be used against you in a subsequent proceeding against you, and anything you say that could be incriminating that gives them leads on where to find evidence against you that can't be used as well. But she never gave anything incriminating, and so that's why I don't think that's going to be a hard thing to go after her for prosecution when they're done using her as a witness. Yeah, another question about Rosh. Roshan's not going to be called as a witness. I guarantee you that. KCL's asking if I think Donna would or could change her defense theory other than double extortion. Would it behoove her to try and change it? Speedy trial would probably ensure she sticks with it. I'm not going to give any ideas to defense. So sorry, don't want to go down that road. I'm not here to help defense. As a matter of fact, is saying circumstantial evidence is just as good as direct, or it can be way better than direct. It all depends what type it is. Most people don't kill people in front of others. Many times that's the case, but yeah, I mean, you have, and like I say, sometimes you don't even find the body, and you're trying to prove a murder case. So, and yet we get convictions many times on those. Hamon is asking if I think the jury experts will be back, and do I think the jury selection will take longer this time? Um, I think the jury selection will probably take about the same amount of time. I think that um, if they want to not spend the money on those jury experts, I think there's been a lot of public negative comments about how they didn't help them. So they may not use them, but if they really think that they're going to win and lose it based on who they pick, then I could see them also deciding to go back with these same multiple attorneys coming in and out of the courtroom. So Could go either way. Yeah, Marta's asking, what about Wendy's attorney license? She's a conspirator. Can the board claim her for not practicing law? Normally, that's from states I'm in. I mean, they're going to wait to see how the trials flush out, and she's not been indicted yet, so I don't see an issue for that. Um, but somebody could make a complaint and say that there was perjury and stuff like that at multiple trials. And not sure what they do in Florida. I'm not familiar with their system, but they may just defer to the fact that there's a trial proceeding with judge and prosecutor there, and if they didn't uh, follow up on that with criminal charges, then they're not going to intervene. So I just don't know from Florida's standpoint how that would be handled. Beachy's asking if I believe they found more evidence on Wendy than is known, electronic evidence. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's more stuff that I'm sure they have on Wendy, stuff that she would have been emailing around. They could hopefully they've tried to get WhatsApp type of messages as well. But if they haven't done it in soon after the to the 2014 murder, I don't think they're going to hold the records that long. Shaquille is asking, what did Katie get for testifying against Charlie? Nothing. They didn't cut any deal with her, and so she may not get nothing out of that. She may offer to testify to help them again against Donna, and so we'll see. I think they probably will accept that as well, and they'll have her testify sort of the same thing she did last time. Carol Tell's asking, how can Wendy possibly keep those boys away from social media news? Can she flee the country, or have they taken her visas? No, they haven't taken her visas. I think she could possibly try to flee, but I think they'd probably intercept her just like they did Donna. Bill Slaughter's asking, Wendy not being arrested due to the fact that she will testify in Donna's trial as in previous trials. I mean, that could be a reason why they just would rather have her come in as a witness off the streets than having her be locked up and facing charges as well. Could be a motive, but I don't think they actually need Wendy to testify against Donna. And I think all the evidence that they could muster in without her is enough to easily secure conviction. And she doesn't. One of the most damning things against the Adelsons is the comment she made to Jeff Lacasse about saying Charlie looked in a year prior about hiring a hitman and exploring all options, and that came in this trial. But even if you didn't have that come in, I think you could get it in actually. Um, and at least I think the rules of evidence would allow that. I think the judge made it a little bit harder for the prosecution, but I think the prosecution didn't argue it strenuously enough and confidently enough in the motions hearing, and I think that's probably why the judge made him have to jump through an extra hoop, and that's why they had to call Wendy back. Remember to ask her a specific question a certain way before they could let Jeff Lacasse testify in rebuttal. So I think if you studied that a little bit more detail as a prosecutor, I think in like the state of Texas, I think that would definitely come in without having to use Wendy as a witness for that. Haley Hunter's asking, who do you think told Katie the job is done? I think that came through Wendy. Who else would have known? It wasn't even in the news. Nobody else would know anything about this. Assuming that was true, that Katie knew that. And that's something that Luis Rivera said that she said, yeah, I already knew. And so I think that's a credible statement. I think Luis Rivera is pretty darn credible. And I think that's a true statement. I think the jury would have found that to be true. And I think it definitely is very damning against Wendy. And I think that the timing of it, I think there was some issue like when was she actually there when making a call back down there? Was it 12:30? And was she there at the house? She had to see what was going on. Not sure about all that, but I think there's enough there for the jury to pick up on it and be very suspicious of it at a minimum. And maybe some of those cell phone records, maybe it was a different. It can bounce off another towers further away. That's always an explanation as well. And I know that um, there's sort of a window anyway. I mean, Wendy said she left her house, I think, right after 12 initially, and then later on she backs it up to later. And so I think there is some variance there that the jury will pick up on and may interpret it in a worse light to Wendy. Timothy Swire is asking, in the history of American jurisprudence, has three members of the same family been charged with murder? Oh yeah, I'm sure that's happened before. I can't think of any off the top of my head. And the Menendez brothers, that was two. But multiple members being charged, I'm sure that's happened. I just can't think of any off the top of my head. It's not as common, obviously, but Alfonso's asking, why do I think Sigfredo Garcia is acting like a macho man? He doesn't want to testify to the truth. Yeah, it's just so bizarre. I mean, that's got to be. Think about it. By Katie refusing to take the deal to get out of jail and be with her kids just to maintain her supposed innocence. That's like the dumbest thing I've ever seen in any court anywhere in the history of the history of America, I would say. And I would say that Sigfredo not rolling over is up there as well. And neither one of them get to see their kids probably ever again. And and Katie may not have any kind of sentence reduction either. And so there's no requirement to do so, from what I understand of Florida law. So they may never reduce it from life without parole. And but perhaps there could be something that the state offers in to try to reduce it a little bit if she does testify against other Adelsons. So it remains to be seen. I don't know the intricate details of those nuanced Florida laws. Right round is saying, why has no one mentioned he was not dead until the 19th, but they were going to pay on the 18th? Yeah, I have mentioned that in previous live streams, the fact that they showed up on the 18th and they were supposed to get paid then, but Dan was not dead at that time. They had to wait till he was actually dead before they're going to get paid. Think about it. Charlie's not going to pay him 100,000+ if they haven't even been able to ensure his death. So I think that's why Katie stayed over and they had to wait until they got the final word that he did not survive through the night. And that's when she got some of that moldy money. Yeah, Jennifer Ray. It's so weird that Katie and Sigfredo won't talk. Well, Katie eventually did. She wasn't the most forthcoming, but I mean, she did enough damage to help convict Charlie. So that was good to see. And you could see she wasn't really a sophisticated, suave person that would be able to manipulate Charlie into an extortion racket. I mean, that was just so obvious. A lot of questions about Rashbaum and the fleeing the country conversations. Yeah, yeah, we don't. I don't think anything's more is going to come about that. Okay, Chris C is asking, do prisoners Charlie, Katie, et cetera, get visitors? Yeah, you're allowed as in any kind of prison in America to be able to have visitors. Charlie, he's still going through the processing, and I think Fancy was saying that he's going to be transferred in the next week or two to his final destination prison. And of course, that is not final. He could always be moved based on what's going on and if there's threats and stuff like that. So, so thank you. As a matter of fact, I actually do not ask for any money, so I do not need any money from you guys. So I appreciate you giving this $5, but really, I just keep your money. I do not need your money. It's very sweet of you, but Northern Ireland is saying, "Do I think Rashomon will blow Donna full of smoke like he did Charlie? Surely a futile tactic now, given Charlie's verdict." Yeah, I'm not going to say um, that I know exactly what conversation had occurred. I mean, that's what Charlie's making it sound like. He was told everything's great. Yeah, if you took him at Charlie at face value, that's what his attorney said. Then, um, I can't speak for Rashomon. Does he really think that he had a shot with that theory? I would say it's you ask any attorney that does done any kind of a defense work, and they're going to basically say that you'd never have any kind of shot at all winning a case like that with that theory. All right, Dr. Ken Sella, thank you. Right here's Leo. Leo showed up here. Brady Star's asking why are John and I drawn to this case. Reason being, um, I just was not I was really disgusted to hear how long it was taken to get the Adelsons prosecuted, and so I thought that maybe they needed some encouragement and whatnot. And I was hearing some other commenters with criminal law experience, and a lot of them not with any criminal law experience, which makes a huge difference in my opinion. Commenting on the case and whether there's enough evidence to go after Wendy and stuff like that. I thought it was just so much a matter of they don't know what they're talking about. Maybe they don't have the experience. Maybe they haven't looked at the evidence in enough detail or whatnot. And so I just thought that, you know what, that's doing a miscarriage of justice to Markel's to not have the the uh, the real truth of the matter come out. And so that's why John was able to talk me into doing this. And John covers parental alienation on his YouTube channel, and so that's why he covered this and he got me hooked onto the case. And also given the fact that Markel's are from Canada and our mom came from Germany and didn't have the kind of advantages you do when you're a native born citizen here, and them being in Canada, even though they speak the language well, and our mom spoke English fluently. There's just a cultural difference there, and then trying to get acclimated to the cultural differences in the legal system and whatnot. And I just felt sorry for them, and I felt like they were really being not given a fair shake. And so I think things are turning the corner. I think it's great. A lot of people are now talking about more Adelsons being arrested. And I think that you also got to keep in mind there's I think there's a lot of social media blitz out there also going on by some of the Adelsons, and specifically for Wendy. And I feel like from my experience working a lot of cases over many years, I feel like I have a pretty good radar to pick up on agendas. I feel like I have a ability to spot agendas a mile away based on how people are behaving. And so anyway, I just decided to speak those kind of truths, regardless of any of the the consequences and whatnot. I'm just telling you what I going off my instincts based on what I see as the evidence of patterns and whatnot. So yeah, Laura Myers. There was a case in Ohio a couple years ago where 8 family members were murdered by another family. The mom was a ringleader. Google it's easy to find. Yeah, I think they call it the Pike County murders. So yeah, I think that was a family, multiple family members as well. I've not looked into that at all in much detail, but I remember that coming out some years ago. So yeah, I need to I need to get some more up to speed on that. That what a gruesome hate-filled family that one is, right? Marcel is asking, Rosh would ask a question of a witness, and he would then give a side eye look over to the jury to see if they bought it. Yeah, I saw some of that going on too, and I think that's something that it can look too canned and rehearsed and scripted and stuff like that. Like for example, I thought uh, his questioning of Wendy this came across as so canned and rehearsed. It's really just came across. I think any jury would see that was really an acting job. Susan Vaughn is asking, why did Rashbaum call Wendy's divorce attorney? I think they're trying to diminish the fact that there wasn't this hot contentious litigation, that Wendy had nothing to worry about. Because think about it, I've said this before that one of the main drivers of Wendy to need to have the murder happen and get rid of Dan was because she was facing these motions. She was facing contempt of court that could include jail time. He was accusing her of hiding assets. He was demanding to get the family heirloom ring back from the Holocaust survivor. He's also saying she was basically, he mentioned that in the motion as well. It didn't come up tonight on court TV, but it's in a footnote where he mentioned that her behavior during these divorce proceedings is such that it's questionable whether she's fit to remain, suitable for teaching students at the FSU Law School. So, I mean, that's huge things to set off um, very much fearful thoughts of Wendy and what ramifications could be. Because I think if it would have, what would have come out of this was she'd have lost her job at a minimum and had to face some kind of bar issues. And she might have came out unscathed the bar issues, but I don't think she could handle it. I think that was like that's what made the urgency of taking out Dan before she had to face her deposition and face this judge. My battery's about to expire here, so I'm gonna have to end it earlier tonight. Okay, so John's channel is Brainwashing Children. Just go to YouTube. Brainwashing Children is his channel. He's had it for a number of years. Somebody here is saying only after Wendy's convicted does state decide custody. Well, I mean, no, if she gets arrested, she's not going to bond out. Just like Donna, she couldn't bond out. So the state would get involved and decide who the children would go to, whether it's Markel's or maybe Robert, the eldest brother up in New York or something. I don't know what the best outcome for the children would be and who's available to do that, but and if the international aspect would be a problem, but Barbara Ellison saying, I'm sure Donna and Wendy are guilty, but the evidence on them seems sparse versus Charlie. Okay, I don't know how much evidence you think is necessary to get somebody convicted of murder. They need more than emails and phone calls. No, they don't. I mean, if you saw how juries work, you'd see exactly what I'm talking about. And what do they have against Charlie other than a bunch of phone calls And the emails weren't even from Charlie, right? They were all the hate emails from Donna and all that code talk and stuff like that. That code talk alone, I mean, that is just like so damning. Granted, you have the the restaurant conversation with Charlie. That was definitely something. But this family acted in concert. They acted as a team, minus of course Robert. I'm not ever talking about Robert when I talk about the family murders. So yeah, you just gotta look at the evidence differently in a different light. And if you have never prosecuted a case to a jury, then maybe you just don't have that background to understand what it takes and um, how easy it is to get a conviction against Donna. So I mean, people said the same thing about Charlie. So and look what happened to his case. So I just don't think you maybe have the background or haven't looked at enough evidence here. So all it takes is one little nugget of evidence in order to tip the scale. And like I say, you got a lot of it against Donna. You got tons of it against Donna. You got plenty of it against Wendy, and even got more than enough for Harvey as well. And Harvey, even you could get him for trying to flee the country, aiding and abetting the flight of the flee attempt of his wife Donna. I mean, even motive. I mean, look at the motive involved in this case. Wow, it's like overwhelming motive. A lot of murder cases, you don't even have motive. I mean, look at the motive you got here. The absolute hate and cruelty, and then the way they abuse the kids as well. That is just so damning. I mean, I'm just telling you that if they bring up this stuff about denial of visitation and Wendy's hate emails, talking about Hitler Youth and all that kind of stuff, this jury is going to be. They're going to have smoke coming out of their ears. They're going to be so mad at these people, as they should be. But they'll do the right thing and convict them because the evidence is there. Paul is asking, can the Markells sue Wendy for the Holocaust rings return? Yeah, that's what Ruth said tonight on Court TV with Vinny Politan. And what you going to say? I don't have it. No, I gave it back to Dan, and Dan's not there to answer and say that he didn't get it. So it'd be a futile act. And just think about it. Will the boys ever see that? And if you're willing to deny that family heirloom to the boys, just think how cruel that is. So, yep. And that's not been brought out on Wendy on any examination yet. But yeah, Leilani's saying Wendy was no match for Dan Markel's a lawyer. She ought to be pleased with her husband as being successful. I think she was jealous of his accomplishments. Yeah, I mean, sh- Dan told his friends to not bring up Harvard around Wendy because Wendy has a real problem with Harvard folks. And I think it had to do with she was insecure about it. She thought of them as being like elitist type of people. And I mean, it was just something that really grated on her, and so I think she's also jealous of the fact that he had this highly successful girlfriend up in New York as a professor up there, this Amy Adler, and she was sort of like an equivalent of Dan type that Dan had met. And where was Wendy? Wendy was just a term contract professor, adjunct professor for the law school, and there's no stability there. And she was only hired. I actually talked to Keep in mind, I talked to one of the deans there at FSU Law School there at the time, and they said they only hired Wendy because of Dan. And if Dan wanted her gone, she'd have been gone. So right there, that tells you. And I said that before I even met them. I just picked up on that. So I think that's just so obvious there. If you look at their record and whatnot, granted, she had some great academic accomplishments, but actually, knowledge of the law and application of the law, and being a prolific writer and stuff like that. She's writing fictional books while Dan's writing, books on that are serious legal discussions and whatnot. All right, this was Leo here. Lisa. Lisa's asking the name of the cat. Lisa Mona's asking, why would Rashbaum want to be involved in this again? Well, I mean, He's got a long-term relationship with the clients and they love him, and he's going to get make a lot of money off this. All right, not sure if you guys can hear me. Are you guys able to hear me? I don't know if I'm back on. All right, so what happens is this charge cord doesn't work right when I have a device to add multiple things connected, but yet if I try to connect the camera John got me, plus the special microphone, plus the charge cord, three things out of two ports for some reason does not work, even though I have extra ports or jacks or whatever you call them here. So in any event, let me see if there's any other questions here. Yeah, Jay, I agree with you here. This is coming. You had calling Robert Adelson to testify the state would be a bombshell. Who's more believable than the son who was ostracized immediately after the murder because he simply had questions? Yeah, that's definitely a huge thing. And Lynn, True Crime Project, saying Rob's experience and his wife's was like dodging a bullet, literally. Yeah, I mean that thing could have gone really south in a hurry as well. And think about it, he left the woman that Donna wanted him to marry to go back to his true love. And so, what if he wouldn't have done? What if he would have, you know, not had that turn out right because of Donna doing something to drive a wedge between them, and was she possibly in the gun sites as well? Joyce asking, bring up Amy's ex-husband as suspect, unhinged. Yeah, that was, at the very end of her interview with Detective Isom, she brought up how there was she thought I think she used the word, what a great suspect that Jeff Lacoste was. So she tried to play innocent on that, like she had no idea. But no, definitely, I think that was part of the plan all along that they'd worked and rehearsed on. Sample of one is asking, could Donna and Wendy be planning the timing of Donna's trial through Rashbaum to give Wendy time to plan ahead with whatever she wants to do to evade justice? I don't see that happening. No, I think Wendy's pretty much on her own now. And I think that there's probably not going to be much talk between the attorneys until Wendy's subpoenaed again to testify, and they'll probably still have that same line of questioning that Rashbaum had for her. So Farrow is asking, will the late Dan Markel's lawsuit, which he filed against his ex-wife, ever see the light of day in a potential murder collusion charge against his ex-wife Wendy? Well, we don't call it murder collusion. It'd be called murder charging without the collusion part of it. But I think you mean it's like a co-principal kind of thing. So yeah, I mean that's what the all this stuff having to do with the custody dispute, the assets and money and all that kind of stuff that they were fighting over, all that kind of stuff. I mean, I think it's like a 900-page court file. All that came into the last trial, and just showed how mean and vindictive the Adelsons were to Dan and the Markells. Tennis girl's asking why I think the hearing was reset so far. I mean, I don't know. Maybe this got a jammed up court schedule docket or something like that. I was surprised it was bounced that far out when you got somebody facing murder one charges, and they had to continue it because of bad weather. Yeah, Jeff listened to his gut and left the night before. Yeah, something in his mind. I mean, what a great opportunity that was for him to leave. What I was asking, is it possible that a Markel could be called to testify to say regarding Donna's behavior and actions after the murder? Yeah. Um, I don't recall what Ruth said about how their behavior was in the house, but I know Tamara Demko, she testified to the strange behavior of Harvey. I know that was a minimum. So I think Wendy was able to do better acting. SP74 is asking, do I think Donna will claim she believed Charlie's being extorted? I realize there's many problems with that claim. Yeah, she may say that. I mean, otherwise, what she can do explain her behavior. I mean, I think she's going to have to probably do that kind of story. Yeah, I don't know where my other cats are. They're free range, so they can come and go. So with that, okay, I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. We're at hour and 42 minutes in. So thanks for your focus on this case. Thanks for helping be championing the cause for the Markells, justice for all the Markells. And somebody's asking if I'll be back on tomorrow night. No, I don't know when I'll be back on. I sort of do it more on sort of like the same day notice. I do try to be on generally Sunday night. And just a couple nights ago, I decided I wasn't ready to talk yet because I thought we'd be having a hearing today. But after we know who the attorneys were and stuff like that, I decided to go ahead and have a live tonight. So, all right, well, you guys have a good night, be safe, and talk to y'all soon. Thank you.